One of them is that they're sick of working for Lloyd Blankfein. How close any of these bankers were to Lloyd Blankfein, I don't know. And no evidence of them being close to him, sitting next to him in a board meeting or personally text messaging him while they were eating lunch or hanging out with his wife and kids in Martha's Vineyard. No information about that. Just an assumption, just an allegation. But because this person holds a semblance of authority that the audience has given him because he told them that he was an authority and they believed him, he can say whatever he wants. And that's how it works. Then the truth becomes inconsequential. And you know what the byproduct of that is? Poor decision making. We don't make good decisions. We make decisions based on how we feel. We make decisions based on bad information that was given to us to conjure a specific emotion.
You know, it's interesting because there was a guy asking me, what do you do once you find out about all this stuff? And I was like, well, it's like a 3 or 4 step process. I can't remember exactly what I said, but it was like step 1 is just dealing with the fact that you know this stuff. Secondly is finding out how you can make a difference. And thirdly, it's actually making a difference. I think that's the 4 steps, you know. First of all, you learn the information, then learn how to deal with it, then learn to make a difference, then make a difference. Okay? And I think making a difference is the pinnacle anybody can achieve in their life, particularly if you're trying to save the world and humanity from scumbaggery.
Here's how you can make a difference. The next time you see a picture of a candy bar, acknowledge that you're hungry and go find something healthy to eat. And you can program your brain to every time you see that candy bar, you'll think of a carrot stick. That's not bad programming. It actually helps your body.
Indeed, I was talking to I was explaining to somebody the other day how Alex Jones' wife quit smoking, and she put all like a week's worth of cigarette butts in a bowl or something like that, like maybe a jar with a resealable lid, and every time she felt like a cigarette, she'd go and she'd sniff the jar because it's got a little bit of water in it as well, and it just reeks real bad. So what it did to her brain, and I think this, or at least this is what I think happens, is that your brain then negatively associates your cravings and destroys those cravings.
Your brain will create some synapse relationships with different areas of the brain if you use that often. If you don't, the relationship dies. So what they're constantly keeping us in is a state of relationship in our brain where we are using the same synapse and we are having the same emotions. New information conjure up the same emotions. That's why when you hear a song or when you smell a smell, bam, you are right back at summer camp, or you're right back sitting next to your first love, or you're right back sitting in your 4th grade classroom. It's uncanny how we can transcend this reality and actually feel like we're sitting right there in the past just by a smell or a sound. But this is how we are affected. That's why music is so effectual. That's why they play music in the background of all of your shows and all your movies. I always wished that life had a soundtrack. Wouldn't that be great? If life, it would at least warn you. You know, if you're in the water, you would hear that dun-it, 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 dun-it. You would know to get out of the water.
That would actually be quite amusing, you know. Imagine what the soundtrack would be when you walk into like a political rally or something like that, full of your political opponents. You know, it'd be like Limp Bizkit or something.
Well,
Mission Impossible theme or break stuff, one of those tracks, you know.
Yeah, I thought this was interesting. About a year ago, I met this woman who used to do the jazz circuit in Seattle, and she was on cruise ships for a while, and she met a lot of great jazz musicians. And I got to meet a couple of them through her and have lunch, and I sat at a jam session, and they were playing jazz music. And I'll tell you folks, I've never heard this music before in my life. This is not jazz. It isn't even that wacky Miles Davis stuff with Bitches Brew. And I've never understood that album. I've listened to it several times, at least 20 or 30 times, honestly, folks. And I just don't get it. It's too chaotic for me. But this music, this new jazz music that obviously is not new, it's just never been heard by the general public. Because when the powers that be in the music industry started noticing that people were going to jazz clubs before they were called jazz clubs, they sat down and listened to this music. And then they took it back with them and they focus grouped the hell out of it. And they rebranded and repackaged and found some people to be the new spokespeople for this new brand of music and then put it out there for the audience to listen to. And jazz music for some people is very jarring. They just don't agree with it, don't understand it, but it does resonate with a certain sect of people. And for their entire life, they are jazz fans. And they've got lifetime customers. The point of the story is, by the time you see it, or hear it, or taste it, or participate in it, it's not real. It's a manufactured version of it. And if we understand that, then we're going to take a look at what's happening in the Ukraine and see that this is foreign policy going on right now. And there are factions in there, the US and the EU and Russia, and the people are in the middle of it. And there are good, honest people who want freedom, who are the fodder, and the good people who are doing bad things. Because they don't realize that they're participating in their own tyranny. They don't realize that there are stability operations the day after the revolution. They don't realize that there's a transitional council or an individual patsy like Mohammed Morsi over in Egypt. They don't see that right now because they are pumped up high on that adrenaline. They are looking for their savior, and they are finding it in this movement. So the product that is being sold to us now is freedom. And it's the ultimate product because it has everything. It touches every single aspect of our life because it's the one thing that we've seen being taken from us. Now, who do we blame on this? Because in a storyline, there's always a good guy and a bad guy, even if the good guy is an anti-hero. You know, like in the Despicable Me movies, where he's obviously a bad guy, but you go ahead and root for him because he loves the children. So he can't be all bad. We take this mythology. Joseph Campbell talked about the hero with 1,000 faces. We take this mythological idea, the fist, the pots and pans, the roses handed out to the police who are blocking the protesters, the image of this poor woman who in Seattle, part of Occupy Wall Street, 85-year-old woman, I think, 82, sprayed in the face with mace. In fact, the police officer emptied an entire can of mace into this old woman's face, and they took pictures of her and put it all over the internet. Why? Because it's emotional. Why did they put this little video out about I am Ukraine, this beautiful woman? Because it's emotional. Because it touches you. Because they know that it's going to have one of two results. It's either going to, the people who see it, it's either going to incite them to act upon what they're seeing and identify with it and say, yeah, I want that. Or it's going to turn people away and say, I know that things are bad, but we do not have to have that kind of trouble. Everybody's wondering where the police state is. Police state was supposed to have already come down. They were supposed to enact martial law already. What are they waiting for? People don't understand that they're waiting for the grand finale of the product that they're selling. They're waiting for the day after the revolution so they can install the stability operations. They do it in every country. Here in the United States, it's not going to be any different. They don't, and they can't. They cannot lock everyone down. There's 325 million people in the United States, respectively. And there's no way, even with the civilian army that they're putting together, even with the non-federalized police force, sending some of the people from the police departments all across the country to these non-federalized camps where they're being trained in military tactical operations and then sent back. And in exchange, FEMA is giving them all of those lovely gear that they've got, and the armored trucks and the LRADs, and more money for more toys that are really, really creepy and scary to us. It's for the stability operations the day after, because we're participating in a fight. We're not participating in our freedom. All across the world, they have gotten good, wonderful people who are genuinely disenfranchised, and they have every right to be, because they've been treated like dirt by their country, by the people who run it, by their leaders. Some of them elected, some of them usurped, doesn't matter. They live under that tyranny, and it's horrible. And it's a lot worse than it is in the United States, and we're complaining. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't be, but how we complain is being directed, just like it's been directed all over the globe. And it started with Optor, and it started with Democracy, From Dictatorship to Democracy, Gene Sharp's book, 198 Ways to Topple Your Government Using Nonviolent Resistance. And it has been replicated by the IRI all over the world. And it is extremely successful, because nobody would think that it is the other guys who have set this whole thing up. Now, the Ukraine being strategic is a big deal. The port and the export of petroleum and natural gas, so that they can export that to the global markets, that's a huge deal. Like I said, internationally, everybody's moving toward natural gas. Well, guess what? Russia is assumed to have the largest amount of natural resources we could dig up from the earth ever. Most of it is untapped and untouched. Now, they have the monetary backing, and through that military backing of the Chinese government, through their relationship with the BRICS nations. See, they've been setting this up for the last couple of years. They had their 5th summit last year. 5 years ago, China, Brazil, South Africa, Russia, and Chile got together and decided that they were going to set up their own version of a New World Order. It's slightly different than the technocratic New World Order, but it's New World Order nonetheless. You just get a little bit more freedom, get a little bit more laxed with the options you have as far as energy goes, and some of the abilities that you might have, but it is absolutely New World Order. It's not pretty. I don't like it either. So you've got these two groups fighting with each other. Now, in order to take over a country in the past, they would invade. They would just get everybody together, get all their troops together, set out a plan, crack open a couple of books, get everything ready, and go over and invade. They don't do that anymore. They don't have to. Nobody has to know that there's a war going on. All they do is they go into that country with their little feelers and their little questionnaires and their little stability operations. You know, there's a group that was set up by Hillary Clinton within the State Department, and their task simply is to gather intelligence in Syria. They have been successful in helping the Syrian Free Army in destroying that country and murdering people. And they've done it through questionnaires. And they did it through interviews with local members of government and citizens. Does that sound familiar to you? It should, because they use the same tactics over and over again.
Have you noticed that we keep falling for them? When I say we, I mean the royal we, not me and you specifically. But yeah,
No, you and I are not immune to this. They are talking about base needs. I opened the broadcast by saying when I looked at that Snickers bar, my stomach growled. I didn't eat the Snickers bar. I laughed because it's so effective. Because what they talk to is not us. They talk to our emotions. And most of us don't have our emotions in check. We're reacting all over the place. We react on social media. We react to our friends. If something happens and we're having a good day, and then all of a sudden something else happens and we don't get what we want, then we start being mean to the people we were just having a good time with. And we push those people around, either physically or emotionally. Because we don't have our emotions in check. And everything we do is based on emotion. And they've got all of these wonderful drugs to take away the emotion. Remember the symptoms? NyQuil, when you watch the commercial, it says that they take care of this symptom, and this symptom. They never say that they take care of the cold. Because if the symptoms go away, you think the problem is gone. It's not just that they stop reporting about something in the news. It's that everything in the news is strategic. I saw an article today in alternative media about a gentleman who made a comment that was purely designed to incite a reaction. And it was pure propaganda. And to be honest with you, I don't know why the author even wasted their time, because the journalist who wrote that article is a very, very brilliant person. I know him personally. But we don't understand what's important in our world. We don't understand that the propaganda is what feeds the machine. And every time we report on something that he said and she said, and every time we make the Republicans angry at the Democrats and the Democrats angry at the Republicans, and they're all picking on the libertarians and they're all poo-pooing on the right wings, and this tinfoil hat wearing guys aren't even paying attention in the background. They're looking up, waiting for Nibiru. We're all segregated and we're all fighting each other. And we're not paying attention that we are fighting something that doesn't even exist. It is an idea of something else or someone else that is not based on reality. It's based on topical, superficial information. And because we are reacting, we know that we are under the spell of the Hegelian dialectic. So if we take a step back and take our emotions out of it and maybe sleep on it, not everything has to be decided all at once. Trust me, the world's not coming to an end. They need the world to be here. They're not trying to obliterate it. They're trying to perfect it to their own liking. There's a huge difference. It's offensive to you and me because I don't like their designs. I've seen their designs and I don't like it. I don't think that my family of 4 would feel comfortable in an Agenda 21 shoebox that will just turn lights on and off at will because they decided that I didn't have enough credits on my card.
How exactly can we relinquish the controls of the system? And here's the real problem: is that they're using our own minds to control us. That's actually what's really